Alright, I know you read the title and you're probably angry with me, but let me explain. I already know I'm gonna have to preface this video by saying in no way do I dislike Minecraft or think it's objectively bad. However, I do dislike the direction Minecraft has been taken by its development teams and now think the game kind of suffers from it. I know you're probably confused and think that I just said Minecraft isn't bad, but it's bad, and to be honest, I don't blame you. That's probably what I would have heard too. Minecraft is an absolutely wonderful game. It near created my childhood and the childhoods of many others, and the nostalgia I have for it is uncomparable to any other game. But I've always disliked something about the newer versions of the game. Maybe it was just too different, or maybe I'm just blinded by the nostalgia I have for the earlier versions of Minecraft, and until recently that's what I would have believed. But upon looking into the differences between the new and old versions, there's actually a lot more that I like about the original compared to now. I'm gonna split this video up into three main sections: why I think old Minecraft is better, where I think they took a turn in the wrong direction, and what I feel like could have been done better. Now, I've been playing Minecraft a long time, and I mean a long time. Obviously, I don't really play it much anymore, and I haven't really played it since maybe around 2014, but when I first started Minecraft, it was almost a completely different game. And the more I look at it, the more differences I actually realize there are. If I showed someone who had no idea what Minecraft was this screenshot, and then showed them this screenshot, apart from the same charming, blocky art style, they would probably think they're different games. And who can blame them? In some aspects, I mean, they pretty much are different games. And the main thing I think propels this idea is the concept behind the game itself. Okay, hold on. Of course, like most people, I have a big soft spot for this game, and I can't bring myself to be too harsh, and to some degree, there is probably some drive behind the nostalgia of the old versions. So today, I wanted to revisit some memories I had as a kid and think about if it was really the game being good, or merely just fun memories with my friends. So for the first time in probably a few years, I turned on my Xbox, still greeted by that same background of me and my friends getting our first Fortnite win. I navigated over to the Xbox One edition of Minecraft and launched it up. Unfortunately, due to no longer having possession of ancient iPads and MacBooks, I'll never truly be able to revisit my first worlds, but I still want to see what I can. So I opened up a world which I had instantly remembered I wanted to be a world where I did a full playthrough with the natural texture pack, but I ditched quickly since it was kind of ugly and didn't really feel the same. I was greeted by that palish look and chunky text I had grown so familiar with, and looked around me. To behind me was a grave my friend had built who I probably haven't talked to since 6th grade. And then the music just started playing, the soft piano melody that couldn't be mistaken for any other video game soundtrack. The one soundtrack you could recognize instantly by just hearing one note. This is one part of the game they haven't changed and hopefully will never change. I looked around the world and opened a few chests, and obviously not met by too much, a portal, netherwart farm, even an enchanting table, which is cool I guess. Though I'm not really sure when the world was made, I think this took place around a more modern version of Minecraft still. Even though in my opinion the game isn't really the same anymore, you can still make the same good memories, and you can still experience the same piano sounds in the background. Obviously games have changes, and with a game so original and popular as Minecraft, they had to be careful of what they changed or added, more so than other games because of how popular Minecraft was. I mean, it's the best-selling game of all time. By changing something the world was so used to, they'll stomp on the memories and love for what there was. The addition of netherite, perhaps, is a good example. Diamonds for years were the rarest and most important resource the game had to offer, and everyone knew this. There was nothing more impressive than having a full set of enchanted diamond armor, or a room full of diamond blocks. But now, it's changed. Diamonds are no more but another gold or iron, another layer in between the worst and best resource. By changing this, they've changed how we perceived our memories of diamonds forever. We'll no longer look back at the first time we found a diamond or made a diamond pickaxe in the same way. No longer were those cringe reactions of children screaming when they find a diamond justified, although maybe still funny. But now I should actually move to the point of this video, which is to explain why I think the game has changed for the worse and what direction I think they should have taken. Now of course this video is from my perspective and my perspective alone, so that means every opinion stated is purely a fact and should not be argued with or questioned at all. Of course I'm joking, but please take everything I have to say with a grain of salt, because after all I know a lot of people probably like the new Minecraft and enjoy it more than the old, and that's completely fine. I even asked some of my friends what they thought, and quite literally everyone who responded said that they prefer the up-to-date Minecraft. Whatever you enjoy is what you like to enjoy, and what I say shouldn't change that. Now, let's get on to the first part of this video. You're still likely a little confused on what I mean by old Minecraft being better and how the new updates slowly shape the game in a worse way. I mean, they are just updates at core building on the same game, right? Well, I'll start with something that likely makes the most sense. Beds and, of course, the first night. Back then, when we spawned in, first order of business was surviving the night. Obviously, having nothing but a fist in the middle of a field with mobs surrounding you isn't gonna work out, so what do? Gather wood and as much food and coal as you could before nightfall. Build yourself a base to protect yourself from the dangers presented outside. Craft weapons and armor in case you get cornered whilst not prepared. All of this in the present day is no longer an issue. I mean, when was the last time you remember barricading yourself in the side of a hill and just waiting until the sun rose up again? It's because you don't anymore. It's no longer necessary. But it isn't easy now because we have more knowledge of the game, or we just have grown over being scared of the monsters from Minecraft. It's no longer an issue because of one addition. Yes, that's right, one of the biggest issues I have with the main game is that they added beds. Obviously, it gets a little more deep than just beds, and I'll go into more detail on it later, but for now, let's just start with why I think beds were a mistake. The entire core concept behind Minecraft is survival. I mean, it's quite literally exactly what the game mode is called, so what problem is there with this? Am I just nitpicking the name of the mode? Well, I think the term survival worked great for alpha Minecraft, but kinda no longer fits the current game. Beds are a resource given in nearly every kind of survival sandbox there is, and it's almost always used in a similar way. Maybe it's used to skip nighttime, maybe it's used to regain energy, or maybe it's just simply there to save progress. All of these can work in certain other games, but in Minecraft I think it was a significant downgrade. Take a moment and think about every threat you face in Minecraft. I mean, other than falling off a big structure, the only thing you could probably think of was mobs, and to that point, you're completely right. Mobs is the face of danger in this game, and that's what you have to work to survive against. There's some problems with the mobs themselves that I'll touch on in a bit, but mobs can only spawn relative to the light level. If it's daytime and sunny out, no monsters will spawn, and you're completely free to roam and do exactly as you like. But if it's nighttime, or you're in a dark cave and the light level is 7 or below, monsters will start naturally spawning. When you had just your fist out in the middle of a pack of mobs, you were dead. There was no way of surviving that situation. Now, with beds in the game, you can skip that entire threat by just getting as simple as literally 3 blocks of wool, and get this, a wood log, placing it down on the ground, and there you go, the threat is now gone completely. However, it stretches beyond this. Even if you don't have a bed, if you find yourself in this situation in new Minecraft, you can survive with absolutely no effort at all with one of the next worst things I think was added. Sprinting. Now, I know how much use sprinting adds to the game. I mean, it takes forever to get anywhere when all you can do is just walk around, but that's not important right now. The main issue I have with it is by merely hitting the shift key on your keyboard, you're practically instantly free from the danger of monsters and now can just run around being nearly completely unharmed for the rest of the night. Maybe with the exception of a few well-aimed skeleton shots. So what should have been changed to circumvent this? Well, in my opinion, sprinting shouldn't have even been added at all, and I'll express my thoughts on that a bit later, but what I think they needed to do at the least was adjust mobs to make them more of a danger when you can sprint. Of course, there was no sprinting in the earliest versions of Minecraft, and of course, there were still mobs. Point is, mobs were created before sprinting was taken into account. So naturally, they travel about the same speed as a walking player, but now that sprinting is into the mix, you can just run past them with ease. So what could they have done? Maybe make mobs travel faster, or maybe make them attack more randomly, or attack with a bigger range, possibly. Something along those lines, even if it was a minor change, could have helped a little bit rather than just ignoring it completely. No matter how you look at it, surviving the first night isn't a concern at all if you have one or the other. The greatest hurdle of the game is surviving the dangers that present itself outside, and it's what the core mode is named after. But now you're even punished for not sleeping through the night. You're punished for not skipping the challenge of the game. Of course, this is all irrelevant if the challenge itself were no longer a challenge. And as though I wouldn't go as far to say it's not a threat at all, I would say it's kinda obvious that Mojang wanted to make dealing with monsters much easier than it used to be. Let me show you an example of what I mean. This on screen right now is footage of a Minecraft alpha spider. You can see by me merely slipping up once, missing a single hit, the spider is able to get a jump on me and take down some of my health. Now on screen is footage of the current day Minecraft spider. If you can't see the difference, I don't even know what to tell you. This is absolutely pathetic. The spider struggles to even get a single hit on you, and even when ranged of an attack, sometimes it just doesn't. Punching the spider now significantly slows it down. Sometimes it just stands there trying to remember what it was doing, remembers, and then goes back to attacking you. Now tell me which spider poses more of a threat to the player. The pathetic 2021 Alzheimer's spider or the Minecraft alpha spider? On top of this, every mob except creepers becomes useless in the daytime. Zombies and skeletons burn in the daylight, with spiders not even attacking you at all. Now, of course, this still existed in old Minecraft, but we couldn't just skip today and have them all burn instantly. Danger was what pushed us to interact with Minecraft's main ideas. Did we not look for iron ore for the purpose of helping us survive? Did we not barricade ourselves in a tiny dirt hole with the mere purpose of not losing what we spent so long to gain? We did, didn't we? And now, with these changes, the biggest danger of the game is gone. The survival is gone. Some of these might seem like small changes or just nitpicks, and that's probably because they are, but they all build up on each other to making the precautions we used to take completely useless. And gone with the danger opposed by the night, also gone is one of the biggest aspects of the entire game. Building. Now I'm gonna have to explain myself because I know there's plenty of people who enjoy building in survival for their own enjoyment, and frankly, I'm one of those people myself. But people who aren't self-motivated to do so now no longer have anything to build more than a bed and some chests. In the alpha, the game presented motivation for you to build. In alpha, you could build a fortified base to enclose your farm in so you wouldn't have to go outside or wait till morning to access it. You could work on having a passageway through your house to get out to some trees. When beds weren't in the game, half of the time you spent in Minecraft was night, period. Half of your playing experience took place with monsters outside and there was nothing to be done about it. I mean, look at this footage from me playing Minecraft Alpha. I get a little cocky and leave my hole and instantly get fucking bombarded by creepers and skeletons. And if it weren't for their own bad aim, I would have died. I quickly took refuge in another 2x1 hole with a door in the front and learned to never go out during night again after that. Now, building all these useful things only appeals to those who are self-motivated to do so, while those who aren't can simply just sleep for a few seconds and then go outside and cut down a tree. With the inside of your base being the only safe place to be in alpha, it gave you reason to make it nice. Build a fireplace and some paintings because this is the only place you're gonna be half the time. Building a defensive area can take more of a creative approach, and it's what really let you interact and manipulate Minecraft systems. You can build walls, railways, and a greenhouse so you can protect your crops, anything you can think of as long as you have the resources necessary. You no longer need protection of any kind if there's a mere 3 wool. This, in my opinion, is the biggest flaw in the game. You have more options and more choices in today's age with the new blocks and slabs and trapdoors, but you no longer have any reason to do something with it. But now let's take a different approach. Obviously, in Minecraft, you have a hunger bar. This is a given and everyone knows this. To sustain your hunger and sprinting ability, you have to collect food and eat some every now and again. What some people probably don't know if they never played the earlier game was that there used to be no hunger bar. There was still food, but only a health bar, and that's it. So what purpose does food serve then if there isn't a hunger bar? No, it wasn't completely useless, but it was rather an instant heal button. As long as you had a piece of steak in your inventory, you essentially had some more hearts in your health bar. Now you may ask, why would I prefer this? You probably think, and by good reason, that sounds a little overpowered having food work that way. If you're completely cornered by blazes on 1 heart, just eat a steak and you're completely fine. However, what I do think was a good change was the eating animation. You couldn't just swap over, right click, and instantly have some more health. But you need to get into a safe area for a second and eat a piece of food, so then you're ready to go. So what makes this so different? Well, something you also probably didn't know if you never played Alpha was that food is not a stackable resource. That's right, 1 piece of steak, 1 inventory slot. If you wanted 9 pieces of food, that would take up an entire quarter of your inventory. This really placed a lot more constraint on the player than it sounds. Let's say you went out to go mine iron in some caves, and you only had with you 5 pieces of food. In modern Minecraft, your health really doesn't matter unless it's low enough to where you potentially die. But with this system, you really had to be careful to make sure you didn't take more damage than you absolutely needed to. A hole too big to jump down? You're gonna need to build a staircase downward because jumping down would lose you a chunk of your health and in turn a 1/5 of your food source that you could be saving for when you get attacked by mobs and absolutely need it. You also wanted to make sure that you didn't eat food unless absolutely necessary. If you had 3 hearts missing, but only steak, you then had the dilemma placed on you that if you wanted to eat the steak, but gain less health than you could be gaining, or wait and potentially face the danger of dying because you had those 3 missing hearts. It's something you always had to think about, and now with the ability to carry 64 food in a single slot, it diminishes the idea completely. This change was likely made in large part to accommodate sprinting and the hunger bar in general, since now you would have to eat no matter if you took damage or not around the clock. but sprinting, in my opinion, took something away of the game. I don't expect a lot of people to agree with me here, but without sprinting, not only were mobs not completely useless, but it would limit your area of operation. Let's say you had a big patch of trees a 2-minute walk away and it was coming close to nighttime. Did you want to risk walking out to the trees or play it safe and wait until daylight? Maybe you could have built that underground tunnel or a railroad to transport yourself there and back quickly so you wouldn't have to wait. But this idea of not being able to get around quickly gave you another reason to construct things and made you grow an appreciation to what you have close around you. You couldn't just run as far as you want to find a desert. You could only, at the peak of morning, go out for 10 minutes until you had to be back inside or dig yourself into the side of a hill with the rest of your resources stored back home to stay safe. You absolutely did not want to lose your stuff and everything you worked so hard to achieve. That's why nether trips were so dreaded. If you entered that dark, grim red world and suddenly a ghast rounded the corner whilst you were building over lava to get to the other side, you best have started going the other way as quick as possible, because if that ghast hit you, everything you had was gone. Now, as long as you have an elytra and a stack of fireworks or netherite tools, which just don't burn at all, you face no threat. You don't gain as much appreciation for what you have because all of a sudden you have this massive barrier of safety around it, making it nearly impossible to die and lose it all. The elytra is like an instant win button. With an elytra, as long as you have enough fireworks, you'll pretty much never die. And some would say this is justified for what you had to accomplish in order to gain such elytra, but I really don't agree. No matter how hard you had to work for it, I think something as powerful as an elytra should not have been given to the player as a usable resource. You could still do work to prevent these situations, such as with the ghast. If you carefully brewed some fire resistance potions and took them with you on your journey, got taken by surprise and knocked into lava by a ghast, if you downed the potion quickly enough, you would have a chance to live as long as you could get to land quick enough. The difference here is that you would have to expand resources and work hard to get these potions. You have to fight blazes and magma cubes, make a brewing stand, gather netherwort, all for the reward of being able to save yourself from a desperate situation that may or may not present itself in the future. It's the player's choice whether they want to gather these resources time and time again to be able to save themselves, rather than just collecting something once and having it able to be put at use forever as long as they have a mending enchantment. Minecraft was about strategically thinking, building, and resource collecting for the sake of survival. Now, I'd say the term is just completely inaccurate. Minecraft is no longer about survival, but I'd say more explore and conquer. A name more like Terraria, for say. You no longer spend the nights preparing your base and crafting useful resources to avoid danger. Now you put on a set of iron armor, search out for a village, raid an ocean monument, slay the wither, explore a mansion, loot an end city, kill a dragon. Minecraft no longer has that aspect of surviving that made it so special to me. So what went wrong? I mean, obviously the bed's addition of sprinting and focus towards conquest, but where did it start to fail? I think most of us probably stopped playing Minecraft because it had become stale. I mean, people coming back to the game today would probably be astonished with all the new features if they hadn't played since 2013. But if you actually look at the update history, it's a little underwhelming. Since the game's release in 2011, they released 3 major updates every year. 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, all the way up to 1.8 on September 2nd, 2014, which had introduced some new blocks, an ocean monument, and some other minor changes. Guess when the next update had come out? Over 500 days later, in February of 2016, they released the 1.9 combat update, which merely gave us dual wielding, which barely works, igloos, a new combat system, and end cities, which I guess are pretty cool. But over 500 entire days to add this to one of the most popular games of all time is just not acceptable. It took them the rest of that year to publish updates 1.10 and 1.11, which barely even added anything, and then, get this, took nearly an entire year to add some colored concrete blocks and parrots? Yeah, obviously something's not right there. When development is this slow, especially for one of the best-selling games ever, the fanbase is bound to die down. Mod packs that change the game entirely have been made in less time than these updates, by much smaller teams. My issue isn't even that updates took so long, it's that it took so long for them to make the game into what it's not. They shouldn't have added bosses, monuments, and an actual physical end to the game. Minecraft is a game that should be without an end. Minecraft is a game only limited by your own imagination. They didn't need to add villages, dungeons, or end cities. Minecraft in large part is built on its simplicity and what the player wants to do. Venturing and conquering the world is not Minecraft. Defending and surviving the world is Minecraft. They seem more interested in a conquest progression approach like Terraria, which I think can work well, albeit not in the way they're doing it, but it's still not the game I know. If they wanted to take the conquest route, I think they still could have done it much better. Not spending an hour fighting your way in and clearing out an ocean monument for some useless gold blocks, or saving the world from an extra dimensional dragon just to move on to the added challenge of, get this, some men in a house. But mobs at the depths of the world that you're equipped to fight with the right set of specific armor and drops that are useful that you can use for yourself. Maybe villages get another expansion update. Villagers actually do stuff and expand their own village instead of just being completely useless. You can buy the help and loyalty of the villagers with these rare mob items that they might value, and they start to help you mine for gold or dig out an area for you to build in. Mods will never be the same, and after all, this video is put into sense on the vanilla game. I can't give the game credit for just being a base where mods rule over. I want the game itself to thrive the way it should. I don't think Conquest is the way to do it, and there's many other ways they could have built on the actual survival side. So what should they have done instead? Before I dig deep into my perfect philosophy of game design, I must say that I'm not a game developer, nor do I think I could do better than any of those working at Mojang. I simply just want to state my ideas of what could have been built on in the survival aspect of the game rather than shifting its focus entirely. There will never be a return to how the game worked like it did back in alpha, so I'm gonna speak of my ideas with the game's current systems like beds, sprinting, and so on. So where do we start? I think the best idea is to make the world react to the player. Let me explain a little bit, because obviously that probably isn't too detailed. In modern 1.17 Minecraft, to have an animal farm, you need no more than a 5x5 area and some fences. Obviously, in real life, it would be way beyond inhumane to cram 30 pigs in a tiny pen, but in Minecraft, what does it matter? You reach the same result either way, don't you? Well, what if by giving the animals water, food, space, and just an overall ethical farm, you could get more drops of food or wool, and maybe of a certain higher quality, like how there's a difference between iron and diamond. Obviously, this change does nothing to the survival aspect of the game, but I think it's a good example of a world that can react to what the player does. Changes like this could make the survival aspect thrive, and in turn, also make a much more engaging and thrilling world. Let's expand on that idea. Say, if we had another village update, like I talked about before, and we happen across a village struggling in the midst of winter survive, since a rival village nearby has taken all the resources. Maybe the villagers can ask us to help them and burn down the rival village, and in turn will offer us rewards such as defending our base or giving us items. Say we ride off to the other village and begin to burn down their homes. This in turn makes us seem like the hero to the struggling village, but we're now seen as enemies to the once thriving village. The villagers now refuse to do services for us and gather other villages together to warn them of our disloyalty and launch an attack on us themselves. In this world, everything you do has a reaction. It's like a large domino effect, and it can cause you to really think strategically about how you do certain things. What if, instead of burning down the village, we had burned and stolen their nearby resources? Now the village struggles to survive and maybe pays us their wealth and items in turn for some resources to help them survive, and we come out looking like the hero to both villages. This is the kind of thing that we need. So if the villagers had come together and try to tear down our base, we had to put up defenses and hire people to fight for us, build a big fortified wall and a lava moat, have towers with villager scouts that could see where the enemies are approaching from so we can land some shots on them with a bow before they get any closer. If you had built a home for villagers in your base so you could buy resources off them every now and again, and you would make a tiny room with nothing but a bed and a chest for each of them, the villagers could become dissatisfied. If you treat them badly and hurt them when they don't give you what you want, they start conspiring against you, plotting to steal your items and escape from your base while you're sleeping. If you made big, comfortable living situations for the villagers, however, the villagers are more happy, give you better items, and in turn help build your base into what could be a kingdom holding more and more villages and homes for your people. You have to make sure your villages are heavily defended though, with walls and guards, because if not, a zombie horde might break in, infect all of your villagers, and infect all of your villages. Now, all of your villages are just gone. However, we can't take away from the core game. You still have to mine and gather core resources for yourself and your villagers. You have to make sure you collect enough coal to burn wood to ensure that your villagers survive during winter. I don't want villagers to automate any processes like building an entire castle, but just merely help. If you give them the resources necessary, like some stone bricks, they could start building up a wall. Or if you gave them an iron pickaxe, they could mine for resources until they grew tired or the pickaxe broke. Mere automations rather than having the villagers just do everything for you. In the Aether mod, they made an ore with anti-gravity properties. Say we had a new resource where you had to carefully surround it with special blocks first, or else it might teleport away like a dragon egg. Also, the shield system needs a big overhaul. A shield which you can merely gain with a single iron ingot and some wood is way too powerful for its price. So let's just completely forget the shield was ever in the game. Now we have a blank slate. Maybe we have shields with a progression system like iron to diamond armor. You make your first but least powerful shield with a copper block in the middle. Then it moves up in tiers with an iron block, a diamond block, and maybe even a netherite block. But these shields no longer just absorb all the damage thrown at your player. Now they'll just tank a small percentage of damage rather than just tanking it completely. The copper shields the least damage and netherite shields the most. But I think it's important we don't have the shield that shields all damage like we had before. I just think it's way too powerful and makes things way too easy for the player. Introducing some new blocks, fortified blocks, maybe in the nether, and new structures that could help fortify your base. Wood can no longer keep out all mobs. Zombies can slowly break into your wood house over the course of a few nights. If a creeper saw you go into your house, it could blow open a hole and allow all the other mobs to intrude inward. A purpose to gain resources other than the sake of gaining resources is what we need, rather than just some colored blocks that look nice. Everything needs to be incentivized with some reason to gain it. But all in all, I just don't think the game will ever return to what it was, which is a real shame because I loved it so much. My underlying point is I don't think Mojang knows what to do or what direction to take their game anymore. And they don't have to take their game anywhere. It's the best-selling game ever. They've been here and they've made their money. But Minecraft is one of the most special games of all time. It's shaped the childhoods of me and so many others. After all, this game is merely a well put together sequence of zeros and ones, but this game is almost a part of me. It's helped me meet friends and create memories I could have never had without it. This game will always be special no matter what changes. It might not be the game I grew up with, but it's still Minecraft.